Sound like shit, Figgy. So.
Yeah, Figgy, come on, man. Step up your game,
I know.
bro.
Sorry, boys.
You are on the
My
mountain
mic's
again.
not the best again.
I sent you the links for a new mic as well. It's all good.
Bro, I've gotten links from like community members.
I even put Canadian Amazon in for you. I was like, well, he's got no
you've
excuse.
done well.
Yeah, all good though. We'll get there one day.
He needs to put a donation link in his Discord bio.
We need a tip bot in the server just for Figgy.
Yeah, we'll start fundraising.
You gotta tip the goal.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
I'm gonna show you how good I am.
Redacted.
Hello, Redactors. Welcome to another episode of Redacted Radio. I'm your co-host, Goose. I've got my co-host, Tez, beside me. How are you, Tez?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice.
We had a really big episode this week.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. You were there.
Yeah, nice. I hit record. Didn't say much.
We had Sami on.
We did. We had Sami. For those of you who don't know Sami, you can see him in general sometimes. He chats, he's about, he brings the vibes. He's a nice guy.
He's just the founder, one of the founders of Redacted.
No, it was good. He had a lot to say, and we just let him go.
Yeah, the market's been rough, and everyone has a fair reason to turn away from crypto when the market gets this terrible. But the devs have just put their head down and continued to build. And he speaks some really bullish things. A lot of alpha.
I thought you were about to say he speaks really good English.
No, really bullish things.
Bullish things, yes.
Not really good
He
English.
speaks bullish.
You're going to edit the shit out of this.
Yeah. Might do another take of this.
Do you want to do another take?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay.
Redacted.
All right, guys. How are we all doing today?
Good, thanks, Magnus.
Good.
Huge episode this week. We've been joined by royalty. We're welcoming Sami this week. How are you, Sami?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Nice intro.
Thanks, man. And then joining us from the top of the mountain in the deep rural part of Canada, we've got Figgy. How are you, Figgy?
Pretty good, guys. Sorry again about the mic situation. You might hear the goats in the background again.
Oh, yeah. Goats are plenty, for sure.
He's out in the field this time. He's not even in the house.
Magnus is back. How you doing, Magnus?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back again.
Yeah.
G'day, mate.
Good to hear you. And, of course, Funky Bot. How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going, boys? Here for the alpha.
Nice.
Funky's just going to be a fly on the wall and just write down everything that Sami says. So I guess the first thing, Sami, I'd probably be keen to know is there's a lot of things going on with the cartel and you're the head of the management of the token side of things. But I guess what are the challenges that you had managing the cartel side of things in the community?
Yeah, I guess to give a bit more context there, I don't really run anything, I'm one of the founding team members, obviously, so I help oversee things, I guess, make sure things come to fruition, but I'm not really the one, making decisions here at the end of the day. Most of the stuff that we talk about as a team goes up to governance and stuff like that, right? Yeah, it's going good. There's obviously a lot of market volatility here. I keep a close eye on some of the other projects. Tough time for everyone, but I'd say we're holding up pretty strong here, right? I think lots of people we addressed a lot of questions over the past few days, mostly concerned about what's sort of next for us. Gave a bit more insight over there. So yeah, it's good to see people happy, people excited about the vision here. And I'm excited to keep building this thing out.
Yeah, that's it. Markets turned red and devs just keep building.
It's what we do.
Yeah, it's funny. I see some other projects, I guess, some would call competitors, more people in the same vertical as us, sort of giving up here and stuff like that. And, I think about if we are entering a bear market here, who are the protocols that are sort of best in shape to really navigate it? And it goes a lot beyond just the community you have. I think despite rebase tokens are taking the hardest hit, there's an interesting one here because in all actuality, we actually have one of the strongest treasuries in all of DeFi, right? We have DeFi's native currency. We're one of the top holders of that. DeFi's reserve currency, then CVX and CRV, these are some of the assets most in demand across the whole space, we're some of the biggest holders of that as well, right? So I'm optimistic about a bear market here because I know we have the resources to navigate it beyond the work the rest of the team is putting in and the community we have backing us, right? I think in the end, when the music stops, it all comes down to fundamentals, where remodeling the DApp to be more, sustainable going forward. But when you think about the fundamentals, who has that war chest to really navigate through this? I look at our treasury and I look at others and I get, I'm happy about it.
I think the Curve ecosystem is definitely thriving even in the bear market. I saw that even yesterday they had $4 billion of daily volume.
Yeah, Curve is a bear market exchange, like in a bear market, like people are upset, I guess, at like some of the other stables in the market and stuff like that. But like, if someone like really puts their like brain to it, like something like Curve is one of the things that also like survives in a bear market, right? Because, beyond like V2 and volatile assets and stuff like that, there's always going to be stablecoin volume, right? Like there's always going to be stable coins in general. This is the safe haven for people in a bear market. So I'm glad that that's an ecosystem like we're closely tied to and we're such big participants in.
Given that we are so closely tied with Curve and then given that there's other projects that are looking to start piggybacking off of the mechanics of Curve, would you be able to talk about Hidden Hand a little bit?
Yeah, Hidden Hand is something we've been working on since launch. I think we were able to bootstrap the concept of it through like our acquisition of Votomac, which we did maybe a week ago or something, 2 weeks ago. I'm losing track of time here.
Yeah, it feels like months ago.
Feels like months ago, but yeah, we've only been around for so long. Yeah, so Hidden Hand, what is it? Like, why is it important? So I guess like there's two ways to look at it, right? One is, I guess like going forward, and we'll talk a bit about like the redacted thesis in 2022 and staying agile and remodeling it and stuff like that, even though I don't really think it needs to be remodeled, whatever. I look at like the DeFi space a lot, right? And I look at sort of like what steps people are taking. I think like, Redacted sort of spun up from like us foreseeing the Curve and Convex ecosystem blowing up and really what the potential was there for a third party that necessarily doesn't have like self-interest to satisfy. I guess others have seen the success it's had more on like the protocol side, right? So what you think about like another DEX or like another DeFi application that's thinking about more sustainable locking mechanisms and how they can keep tokens like within the protocol and off the market. And, like APY is good and stuff like that, right? Like people like the big numbers. What really matters more is actually earning diversified revenue for the token, right? And making sure that like, the emissions coming out of your token are not even coming from yourself, right? It's sort of just coming from demand of your token. People always complained about governance tokens that they didn't do shit. And, like now we're starting to see like people are starting to look at governance tokens in a way that they're not only influential over their own protocol, but they also have like an impact across the market. Right. So you look at something like Tokenomics, which is, launching soon, that has this narrative of like, liquidity direction across the space. And then I look at things like Balancer that are obviously like, trying to capture more market share here and stuff like that. Things like Lido, where, like layer ones are like often looking for their tokens to be staked. DopeX, which is doing a V token, encouraging DPX rewards for like SSOVs and getting new ones in and all. Everyone has a need for a V token, really, right? Like I think there's a way to monetize this beyond just governance votes, and users want to be incentivized to participate in governance anyways, right? So everyone's sort of working on, all the people we've been talking to, they're all working on V tokens, right? And I guess like they know just like making a locking mechanism isn't going to lock up more of the supply, right? Or isn't going to keep more supply in the protocol. So Hidden Hand was sort of this concept that was like spun up off of this, which is a general purpose like bribe marketplace. So for anyone that creates like a vote escrow token here, they can create like a very simple integration with Hidden Hand, which is like a product of Redacted, by simply just adding a delegate function into like the vote escrow token smart contract. And what they can do then is like, users lock up their tokens, they delegate it to Hidden Hand. They delegate the voting power of it. Hidden Hand is then a platform which takes bribes of other protocols that want to see their liquidity or whatever it is bolstered on that platform and bribe the token holders to vote for them in whatever sort of bribing mechanism it has, right? Something like Yearn is like pointing protocol revenue towards like different vaults. Then you have like obviously the simple like Curve-like mechanism, convex-like mechanism where you get rewards going towards it. Then you have things like Tokenomics where you're actually bribing people to like include you in the protocol, create that integration for you. So whatever it is, Hidden Hand serves as like this platform for other protocols to bribe token holders. So I guess like, why is it good for Redacted? We're in the same position as all of these other DeFi apps, right? We don't want to keep on depending on protocol emissions to like succeed and encourage people to lock up. I want to make Redacted a cash cow this year, right? I want to make it a protocol where, like people aren't even really looking at PA. They're more concerned about like the revenue that's flowing to them. So Hidden Hand has like a fee obviously like integrated into it where, people who lock up their butterfly are getting, like access to fees of all of DeFi, not just like that one token, right? So you're getting a diversified revenue of diversified revenues. That's sort of like, this other protocol and a different layer of the supply chain to us. That's part of our family, right? That's like, built by us.
No, big alpha leak there. I mean, people will soon come to realize just how powerful this will be in terms of being able to have the ability to, direct that influence for the greater benefit of like being a butterfly holder anyway. So yeah, super excited for what's to come, man.
Yeah, there's like this weird, I think every protocol has FUD, but there's this weird FUD. It's like, why wouldn't I just buy CVX?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, the protocol is in its infancy. Obviously, right now, we are like extremely dependent on Convex's success, right? And, I guess like there is arguments to why you should just hold Convex. But I think the way we've built out our project now and like the foundation we've built with that part of Convex, like, you get certain benefits of being a stakeholder in our protocol that goes beyond your ability as a retail trader to access like with these vanilla tokens. So one of the things we're doing is something like Hidden Hand, where you're getting that revenue stream of like other protocols. Something like Demev, which we'll touch into later, is like another one. And then, you have things like our seed rounds and our mergers and stuff like that, right? Which is also like new revenue coming in to the token holders and another unique way of like value accrual within the protocol. Like you as a retail trader, like sure, like go lock up your CVX, but you're not getting in the Curve and seed round. You're not getting in the Jones DAO seed round or anything like this. There's a certain value add you get as being a whale, and Butterfly is sort of becoming this like tokenized whale in the space, right? Where by having the influence we have over DeFi, a lot of the projects that are launching now, obviously they can succeed without us, but they know that by working with us, like, there's a value add that doesn't come by working with like a retail user who locks up their CVX, right? So I guess like our influence and like our revenue stream goes a bit beyond just like the bribes that we'll be getting from Convex, right? And that's the whole plan this year, is to sort of embrace this new narrative of being this dividend token, right? Like being this token where you're earning revenue from like so many different places that like there's no central point of failure and there's no dependence on one ecosystem.
If I have this right, is it true that the DAO locked Butterfly forfeit their bribes to the people who just want to lock their Butterfly and get paid and don't care about the governance, and the bribe locked Butterfly people who just want the money can forfeit their governance, say, to the DAOs who want the governance? Is that right?
Yeah, so that's a good transition, because then there's another side of the FUD, right? Which we always try to adjust the FUD, fuck the FUD.
Yep, fuck the FUD.
Yeah, so there's the retail side of things that say like, yeah, why don't I just lock CBX? I'll get more rewards there, right? And that's addressed to BL Butterfly and like all these sort of developments we're making with the DAO, like I just mentioned. Then there's another side of it, which I guess like people maybe don't see as much because I guess it's more behind the scenes. But there's this notion of us making Butterfly a meta governance token. It's not as efficient as just buying CVX and locking it right now, right? Like obviously like we're trading above backing, and like it's cheaper to get a convex vote by buying convex than it is to buy Butterfly. Now, if majority of supply gets locked up in the BL Butterfly to accrue revenue, there's a really good op here for, like, this is just for, I'm just going to speak specifically on Convex here, but like you can sort of piece it together with all the other governance tokens we'll be accumulating. Yeah, so if majority of supply is locked up there and they're sacrificing their meta governance rates, there's a really good opportunity here for someone like Terra or someone like Fax to buy Butterfly and lock it and access all the governance rights of the treasury asset specifically. Last time I checked, we were trading like 2x above backing. I think right now it's like 1.8x above backing or something. Yeah, so if 80% of supply gets locked up in BL Butterfly and, like 20% of supply is accrued by DAOs, so, like finding another source of buying pressure, yeah, like they lock it up just to access the votes, right? It becomes like extremely more efficient for them. Like they can actually be buying like 3 convex votes for the price of 1. Right? So that's how we're going to address like that need, right? So there's 2 vote lock mechanisms, right? BL Butterfly, which is more of a retail facing product, which, like this revenue monster. And then GL Butterfly, which is more appealing to the business side. So having this like B2B facing product that is like, satisfying the needs of DAOs who want to access the governance power of these influential assets.
Yeah, it's a beast. It's an absolute beast, the hidden hand.
What you're essentially doing, right? Think about Demev, the bond revenue, Hidden Hand, all these sort of things, right? That revenue that we're accruing as a protocol from external things is going to the BL Butterfly lockers. The governance assets that are sitting in the treasury that we're getting from like the protocol side of fees and like, like the bonding and all this sort of stuff is accessed by people who lock up their Butterfly in GL Butterfly. So there's an interesting balance here, right? Like, I don't think anyone's really played around with this concept, but yeah, there's like an interesting balance here between, the 2 vote locked mechanisms and finding market efficiency through like user actions, right? Like not really determined by the parameters that we set as a core team.
The other exciting thing that's coming out is this Harberger taxation. When that first came out, because the market was so red and everyone's donning McDonald's hat, I thought it was a hamburger tax, but it's the Harberger tax. What exactly is that and how does that work?
Harberger tax, yeah. That's something I'm super excited about. Been working on it with like the other founders and stuff and some other like advisors. Yeah, going forward, I think if I was to be the one who shaped how the DApp looks, I think we want to embrace the concept of crypto anarchism more. I think in order to make DeFi more exciting, we need to embrace crypto anarchy. It was the thing that like really made this whole industry a thing. And now, like a lot of people are very conservative and want to make things accessible by anyone and all this sort of crap. Fuck that, right? Like for Redacted, like, we're...
Less boomer, right?
Yeah.
More Zoomer.
No, it's not that it's boomer. It's like everyone knows what we're building here.
Yeah.
This is not retail facing stuff, the stuff that
we're not fooling anyone.
Yeah. I mean, like going forward, we want to embrace this thesis of like crypto anarchy and like the products we build. Harberger tax is a solution to bonding, right? I think we've seen, I guess, like rebase tokens sort of losing their esteem, whatever. Right? Like I obviously still believe in the model, but like we're going to be agile as a protocol. Like we're going to adapt when we need to adapt. And Harberger tax is a way for us to like move away from bonding as a whole. So what is the Harberger tax? Harberger tax is like a crypto economics practice that's extremely underexplored that basically says like, ownership of assets is not done by purchasing it. Think of it in the concept of Redacted. Us owning the asset shouldn't be done by us buying it outright, right? In this case, it's a bond. Ownership of assets should be done through renting the asset, right? So I should be saying like, I want to own this asset and I'll pay $10 every month to own it. And if someone wants to buy it, I don't need to be listing it. Someone can come and say, I'll pay $12 a month to own that asset, right? That's what the Harberger tax is. Yeah, like the way we're applying it is a bit different, I think. So let's dive into this. So Harberger taxes in the case of Redacted and the transition away from bonds works a bit like this. So the way the protocol will look going forward is there will be pools, right? Let's use CVX here as an example. There's one pool of CVX and there's 50 slots in this pool, right? And the people who lock up their butterfly can decide, there's the whole gauge side of it. I'll get into that later, but they decide how much butterfly is getting emitted to the CVX pool, right? So there's 50 slots. We're distributing 50 butterfly for this epoch, right? 1 butterfly per slot, right? Users come in and say, hey, I want to get 1 butterfly for just like, putting my CVX here for a little bit. I'm willing to put my CVX in this slot and, give you guys 0.1. This is not like thinking about like numbers and stuff. I'm just making it like easy to understand numbers.
Yeah, just arbitrary figures. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, arbitrary figures. Yeah. I want to earn 1 butterfly for just locking my CVX up here for like a day, right? Whatever. I'm willing to give you guys 0.1 CVX in order to earn that butterfly. Every single slot in that pool, everyone says, yeah, okay, I'll do the same. Like I'll put my CVX in here and I'll give you 0.1 of the CVX and you give me the butterfly. That's how we accumulate the PCV, is through this burn rate basically, right? Like a user determined burn rate. This is what it's worth to me. PCV is like protocol controlled value. So that's how we like build the treasury. Cool. So now everyone's locked in, all the slots are filled. Everyone's put in their CVX for the day. Let's assume an epoch is a day here. And, they're all earning 1 butterfly for just putting their CVX in there. And they're all giving us 0.1 CVX for having access to that slot. Then I'm a user, right? And this is sort of like a PvP opportunity. So butterfly is worth more to me, right? Like I will give you more CVX, right? I will give you 0.11 CVX to be part of like this drop, right? This butterfly drop. And then what happens is basically it's a user determined bonding situation, right? So basically the APY is determined by the butterfly lockers. So the core team doesn't have control over that anymore. And the bonding discounts in this case, being the burn rates, are also determined by the users because they are deciding how much CVX they're willing to give to us in order to earn the butterfly that's emitted to them.
Yeah, it's actually a super interesting game theory because technically anyone can force like a change in that slot, right? Based on the demand or how much they hold value to trying to have that place in line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So let's think like dollar amounts. Like, I'm getting $100 for free by putting in 1 DAI, right? Like let's use DAI as an example here. By putting 1 DAI in this pool for a day, I could put the burn rate at 0 and I'll say, yeah, I'll just get this $100 for free. And then someone else will come along and be like, no, this is $100 for free. I'm going to come in and take your 1 DAI slot over and I'm going to give you 0.1 of a DAI, as a burn rate just to take over that slot from you. And then it just keeps on going, right? Like 0.2 DAI, 0.3 DAI, 0.4 DAI. And then eventually it reaches a stage where it's like, yeah, you know what, like I'm not giving you any more DAI, fuck that, like I just want the butterfly, right? And that's what I mean by like a user determined bond discount. That's sort of the game theory of a Harberger tax and how it works. And this is how we're going to be applying it to DeFi, and as a more sustainable and crypto anarchism way of like, accumulating assets in the treasury. Yeah, so it's a cool situation here with the whales, right? Like people could say it's like a whale game or whatever, right? Because what happens is if you want to take over a slot, you not only have to put in more assets into the slot than the other person, right? It's not just the burn rate, right? So let's say all 50 slots are taken up and each one of them has $1 million in the slot. It's not really the simplest way for retail to come in there and be like, hey, you know what? I want to take over the slot. Like I'm willing to give you a higher burn rate, but I don't have $1 million to take over the slot. And that's why someone might consider it to be like a whale game. But there is a dApp that comes along with it where like, users can pool funds together and enter slots as a group, basically, right? There can actually be like coalitions within these slots where people are like pooling funds together, like a pool together or something, having like a group determined burn rate and then taking over the slots from whales and stuff. Because if the whales make it extremely lucrative for them, the same way it is right now for like convex bribes, right? There's no way for retail to really like participate in it. And that's the way you sort of tackle it. So there's like a cool mix here of like people fighting over slots between whales, between yield farmers, between coalitions that come up within the DAO, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, or even other DAOs, right?
Other DAOs, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually going to be super fun to see this all happen live
really
and in
awesome.
action.
It's just like a huge like PvP.
It is, a massive battle royale.
Yeah, battle royale, yeah.
That's good.
It's a fun way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I guess, we talk about V2 and, what it's going to look like and all these nice new functionality and products. What is the transition to get there, right? We're currently with, a rebasing and bonding mechanism. And, what does it look like in terms of the transition from where we are now to where we want to get?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. The way we currently have the roadmap, which is, I guess, like been circulating through the deck and stuff, is to sort of launch the revenue generating products first, like Hidden Hand, Demev, all this sort of stuff. And, keep like, I guess like the rebase token and like the bonding mechanism in place for now as we sort of work out economic simulations of how it works and make sure like the parameters are tuned perfectly for it to succeed. So I guess like, in the meantime, while all those things are being worked out, like the plan is to launch like, these revenue generating products and like, pass that revenue back on to stakers and lockers. We're aiming for March to have the V1 of Hidden Hand like fully live out there with like some MVP candidates. Like obviously tokenomics is already integrated. Don't want to give names of like the other ones that we're launching with, but like maybe like the first cohort of it, right? And that will come alongside like the lock token, for example, right? People can like lock up their butterfly and earn those like fees on it and stuff like that. And as we sort of like launch these more revenue generating products and all this sort of stuff, we'll be in a better position anyways to do the migration to like the new model. I guess like anyone who's familiar with like the transition from Ohm V1 to Ohm V2, like it'll be, I guess, like a similar situation, whatever.
Yes, that's really helpful. And in terms of for some people who are looking at the 100K BY that we have now, how do you envisage that changing?
There's a governance vote up right now to begin like the reduction rate of the APY. And the day that the APY strikes the target percentage, I think it's like 1000%. I'm not sure, like someone else on the team was working on it. The day like the APY reaches that target number is the day like the V2 gets released. So
exciting stuff.
The reasoning behind it is obviously because we want to reduce like emissions here. It worked to bootstrap the treasury. Now the treasury is like in a place where like no one can ever fade us, right? Like, we're here forever. And like, we have enough, in the treasury to like be comfortable in this transition period to the V2, like we were comfortable like on day one with like what we had in the treasury. Now it's just like bonus stuff, right? So I think we're ready to reduce emissions here, cut back the supply dilution like a little bit, transition to something a bit more sustainable. And then like, once it reaches its target KPI of like 1000%, the V2 comes out and we move to like this new model.
Very exciting. So the APY is coming all the way down to 1000%, but that's nothing but good news.
Yeah, APY bullish, APY drop.
Very bullish. Yeah. Sami, can you drive to Funky's Mountain and give him a new mic?
Figgy's mountain.
Figgy, sorry, not Funky. No, Funky got one.
Yeah.
That was not my mountain. I don't know who that was. I think that was Tex.
Oh man, it's so bad.
I have no idea what he said.
I guess decentralization is our goal. How do you foresee the pathway to decentralization?
I like this question. It's funny with the Harberger model is there's actually like a future where the protocol is like immutable and there's actually no governance over it whatsoever because it leverages these concepts of PvP and, I keep on saying this word, but crypto anarchism and stuff, right? When users are determining all these parameters, right? People who lock up their butterfly are determining every single thing that's going on, how much is going to each pool, how many slots are there, all this sort of stuff, and they're doing it for their own monetary benefit. Then we can ensure not only like governance participation, but there's actually like nothing the core team can do because like all of these aspects of the protocol are in the hands of the people participating in them, right? The lockers. So in terms of like protocol parameters, like I think that's how we envision decentralization is actually like, set up the Harberger model. Obviously, we're there to help see the transition through and, put it in a place where the system is actually like fully immutable, right? So, there's no more smart contract changes and, this is just how it is. Like, you lock up the butterfly, you participate in the pulse, and then you decide the parameters, right? I think like, there's some other stuff. Every protocol, it doesn't happen overnight. Like Bitcoin didn't happen overnight. Satoshi was there in like its early days and stuff, right? I'm not comparing myself to Satoshi here, but yeah, it would be foolish to say like, I think the protocol can stand on its own 2 feet without some people that are like incentivized to help see the vision through. So I think like until V2 is in a place where it can stand on its own 2 feet, like, we'll be there, like making sure that like things are going smoothly and everyone's happy and there's the right support systems in place. I think there's another governance vote. I don't know when this is coming out, but like in the next few days that creates like a rolling incentive program or like a rolling contributor incentive program so that like we can get more core contributors on and we have like the system in place to like, incentivize them properly to help out and then, like set up more committees and all this stuff. If you've participated in another DAO, I think like think about what it was like in month 1 and then think about what it was like in month 3, right? Like, there's a lot of things that we're going to be taking on from other DAOs and how they set up like their contributor program to make it more open to like contributions from the community. I think the actual goal with like something like a Harberger tax is to make like a fully immutable system. People are governing potentially like boring stuff, grants and seeds, and that's not boring, but like whatever, like they're governing what we do strategically, right? The system itself, the protocol itself can live without any governance eventually.
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does that tie into crypto anarchism then? Because I'm actually not familiar with that term. Is that what that would be?
I think crypto anarchism is just like leveraging the concept of decentralization to make protocols just like the Wild West, right? And I think like that might go over like weirdly with a few people, but Wild West in the sense that like, you have systems in place where you can create these like really interesting game theory, like a Harberger tax and stuff like that. In this case, crypto anarchism is like embracing the fact that like DeFi is a PvP battle, right? People are fighting over yields all the time. Instead of like, trying to hide that with like things about how we're going to sponsor a team and get a celebrity to tweet about us and stuff, like, we're going to really build on what made this industry what it is. And we're going to embrace it and like leverage it, put out like, new and interesting concepts.
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's crypto anarchism is pretty much just like focusing on privacy, political freedom, and like economic freedom. So, it fits in line with everything that we're trying to build here at Redacted Cartel.
Redacted.
Wow. How about all that alpha?
Another episode down.
It's good. We forgot to acknowledge Brothers in Arms. Funky Bot. Magnus was there. Figgy was there. You just couldn't hear him.
Figgy was online.
Figgy was in the Zoom call.
It's hard to actually know if he was there, but he was certainly online in the call.
Oh, you could hear something. It sounded like Figgy.
That rustling in the background. I was wondering what that noise was.
He was on the highest peak of the highest mountain. Yeah.
That was good.
It was good. It was a good chat. Like, that was a good info dump from Sami. We got a lot of good info there.
And he's keen to come back.
Yeah.
And we're going to get some of the other core members on it with him as well.
He's going to be a reg. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Let us know what else you'd like to hear about from Sami and from the other core team. Remember to give us a good rating. And what are the things? Like, comment,
ring the bell.
There's subscribe. A bell. I feel like there's so many functions you can do. Do all of them.
Press all the buttons.
Points for whoever can type first over Funky.
Oh, yeah.
That's become a competition.
Is there points? What do you mean points?
Yeah, points.
You will earn...
Yeah, points. Just points.
You'll get 50...
Just 50 points.
50 butterflies.
No, just points. That's good. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, bye.
You gotta tip the goal.